Breaking news today. The White House has dispatched nuclear submarines toward Russia following a heated exchange on social media. But is this bold move truly about protecting America, or merely a reckless diversion from pressing domestic issues?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
BBC News reports that in response to provocative comments by the former Russian president, President Trump has deployed nuclear submarines. This raises a critical question. Why is America once again on the brink of nuclear confrontation due to a political feud happening half a world away? The previous administration under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris entangled us in foreign conflicts, drained our resources, and overlooked the chaos at our borders. Now, it seems a single social media outburst from a Russian official has justified the deployment of nuclear submarines, purportedly for our safety. But we must ask ourselves, is this truly necessary? Or is it another case of Washington's addiction to global drama, with ordinary Americans bearing the cost? You won't want to miss this.
Yes, he certainly has. Interestingly, there's been no reaction so far from the Kremlin, from the Foreign Ministry, from the Defense Ministry, anyone here really. I think everyone's trying to work out what on earth is going on and what, if anything, has changed in relation to where these US nuclear subs are being positioned. There has been reaction from the Moscow stock market, which has fallen sharply. Judging by the reaction in the local media here, Russians are surprised, to say the least, by President Trump's post. I suspect that no one is more surprised than Dmitry Medvedev himself, because for more than 3 years he has been tweeting and posting some very bombastic and provocative social media posts.
The silence from Russian officials is striking, given the gravity of the situation. The lack of immediate response from the Kremlin, the Foreign Ministry, or the defense establishment suggests they are either unprepared or choosing not to escalate the situation, for now. Meanwhile, the significant drop in the Moscow stock market indicates that the financial sector is taking the American move seriously. It is notable how the rhetoric from Medvedev, long ignored by Western leaders, has finally elicited a tangible response from the United States. President Trump's announcement of deploying 2 nuclear submarines sends a clear message: the era of empty threats has ended. This approach contrasts sharply with the previous administration's preference for secretive diplomacy, which often left allies perplexed and adversaries emboldened. The real question is whether this escalation serves America's best interest. Deploying nuclear submarines near Russia, even as a deterrent, is a significant move. It increases the risk of miscalculation and places American servicemen and women at risk for a conflict that does not directly threaten our homeland. This kind of interventionist thinking has historically led us into prolonged conflicts and distracted from domestic priorities like securing our borders and rebuilding our economy. The United States possesses the most powerful nuclear deterrent in the world, with our submarines playing a crucial role due to their stealth and unpredictability. But publicizing their movements undermines their effectiveness, turning vital national security assets into tools for international theater, a practice all too common in foreign policy for decades. This moment demands genuine statesmanship and prioritization of American interests. The last thing we need is to be drawn into another European conflict due to reckless rhetoric or political maneuvers. Instead, our leaders should be engaging in tough, realistic diplomacy and avoiding foreign entanglements that do not benefit our citizens. This is a lesson that both parties should have learned by now, a lesson overlooked by the previous administration at great cost. As the situation unfolds, the American public deserves clear answers about the changes on the ground and whether these moves genuinely enhance our security or are merely part of political gamesmanship.
Which have gone unnoticed, I have to say, but now suddenly he has been noticed and he's got under the skin of the President of the United States in a big way. Meanwhile, while all of this is going on, we think, Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, to arrive in Russia, possibly to meet Vladimir Putin. And tonight, one prominent Russian news site described he like.
Steve Witkoff's impending arrival in Moscow comes at a critical juncture, just days before the administration's sanctions deadline. His visit signifies a last-ditch effort to push for progress on the Ukraine ceasefire through direct talks with the Kremlin. The Russian media has been dismissive, likening Witkoff's mission to a magician's trick, which underscores the widespread skepticism that American pressure alone will lead to a significant breakthrough, particularly in the context of high-profile military maneuvers. This strategy of combining economic threats with military deployments underscores the ongoing debate in Washington on how to address major foreign crises. Historically, both political parties have defaulted to sanctions and military posturing, strategies that have yet to yield enduring outcomes. The current administration's approach, escalating pressure while maintaining diplomatic efforts, represents a departure from previous policies that relied on secretive talks and uncertain measures, which often empowered adversaries and sidelined American interests. Also, there's a broader concern that these bipartisan approaches to intervention and economic sanctions divert attention from domestic priorities. Sanctions, particularly those affecting third-party purchasers of Russian oil, could entangle the United States in international economic disputes unrelated to American prosperity or security. Additionally, the perpetual threat of escalation abroad siphons resources and focus from critical domestic issues such as border security and economic revitalization. As the administration continues its efforts, it's important to recognize the American public's fatigue with endless international conflicts. There is an increasing call for a foreign policy that respects national sovereignty, avoids costly interventions, and prioritizes the well-being of ordinary Americans. The growing skepticism within the current administration about the efficacy of sanctions is a positive sign that some lessons from the past 2 decades are being heeded. There is still a risk that entrenched bipartisan habits and globalist tendencies could draw the country deeper into conflicts with minimal strategic value. With the ceasefire deadline approaching, the next few days will be crucial in determining whether this administration can break the cycle of ineffective interventions and achieve a diplomatic outcome that truly aligns with American interests. The results will not only influence the future of U.S.-Russia relations, but also indicate whether Washington is prepared to prioritize America's interests in its foreign policy decisions. As always, it's interesting to hear how they like to spin this. Ask yourself, who benefits when Washington sends nuclear submarines halfway around the world to confront Russia? Certainly not ordinary Americans. While our cities crumble and our borders remain unsecured, the same leaders who overlook these crises now expect us to support their brinkmanship with global war. This was the legacy of the last Democratic administration: domestic chaos, international recklessness, and a complete lack of accountability. President Trump understood that America's strength must start at home, not in distant foreign conflicts. It's time the ruling class remembers who they serve. If they don't, perhaps it's time for new leadership. Be sure to comment below, give a like and subscribe. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned for the next one.